Well, hey guys, welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back. We have Josh and Jimmy back together again. It's been a couple videos now.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're watching this, it's probably Thursday morning or whatever time it is for you locally. A little bit later today, 8 p.m. Central Time, we're going to be streaming live with me, Jimmy, and our friend from Star Wars Timeline, Ben. So we're going to talk about this topic in even more detail and have the full trio back together tonight. So make sure you stop by and say hello. Jimmy, welcome back, my man. We've missed you.
What is up? I always love doing these duo videos because we get to just have a nice casual
Yeah.
discussion. My life is beyond hectic right now. I got 2 more weeks until it starts, narrowing out. So I'm trying to bear with it myself.
That's right. Hanging on. And tonight, I'm with Jimmy. I like these dual videos where we just have casual conversation. I think sometimes when you're doing a scripted video or you're just talking off the cuff, you don't have the opportunity to bounce ideas off someone or even hear someone else's perspective. And so being able to just make these conversational videos, I find really fun, especially a topic like tonight. Where it's a little bit more of a heated, I don't even know if heated's the right word, a little more of a controversial.
Mildly controversial is
Yeah.
how I would put it.
So for those who haven't seen, I'll give a little background here. There was a tweet put out today by Empire where they did an interview with an actor from the Andor show, Fiona Shaw, who is playing, it appears to be kind of a minor character. Right now I know she's in one episode. I don't know if she's in any more. And given the show is going to do some time leaps, it wouldn't surprise me if some characters only make an appearance in one or two episodes. But she made a quote, and this is the tweet they put out. I'll put it up on the screen, but I'm going to read it here. Andor is, quote, I can't even pronounce this word, Jimmy. Let me have dictionary.
Scurrilous, I believe.
Let me have dictionary.com.
And
pronounce it.
I have the actual dictionary definition up if we need that.
Well, let me. I'm gonna hit the play button here. Let's see what it sounds like according to dictionary.com.
Scurrilous.
Scurrilous. Okay.
Scurrilous. Okay.
Is
I
a
got that eye.
scurrilous take on the Trumpian world. Fiona Shaw tells Empire, and that is a very much a bait tweet. That is going to cause people to get up in arms. I think Empire knew exactly what they were doing when they tweeted that out with a link to their article. What does the word mean, Jimmy? Let's educate us here. What does this word mean?
Scurrilous means making or spreading scandalous claims about someone with the intention of damaging their reputation.
Okay. Well, thank you. Look at that, guys.
The alternate definition just says humorously insulting.
Look at us, Jimmy. We're teaching our audience new things. At least maybe everyone knew but us.
I'm learning new things too.
We're learning new words. But obviously there, guys, when you put, something like Trump or a reflection of the world today, you know the kind of reaction you're going to get. And so I wanted to go ahead and look at the article and give my thoughts and have Jimmy give his as well. So in the article, it goes on to talk about the show, and she elaborates that, he's written this kind of realistic take on some of our world's issues today. She says, our world is exploding in different places right now. People's rights are disappearing, and Andor reflects that. The Empire is taking over, and it feels like the same thing is happening in reality too. So I'll just say right off the bat, I don't like this quote. And Jimmy and I talked a little bit about this offline. There's a couple reasons that I don't like it. Number one, it is an actress in the show kind of giving her perspective on what she felt like the show was doing. It's not an actual interview with the writer or the director themselves, so where they can kind of explain their viewpoint, right? So it always kind of frustrates me when you have someone who took part in the show, freely giving their opinion, which they're allowed to do, but it might not really reflect what the showrunner had envisioned. And so it seems to me this quote gets put out there. Obviously, it's going to trend around on Twitter. People are going to make a bunch of videos about it when it doesn't even maybe reflect what the director or showrunner was going for themselves. Even if they totally agree with her, we don't know that. This is just an actor giving their opinion. So that's the first reason I don't like it. Number two, look, I know what age we're in, guys. Trendy titles get clicks. Trendy clickbaity things get views. We do it here on YouTube. It happens on Twitter as well. Putting Trump in it, putting Star Wars in it, they knew exactly what they were doing and the kind of conversation it was going to get. And just looking at the original tweet, it has, 224 quote tweets. and only 150 retweets, 1,000 likes. So it tells you a lot of people were kind of quoting it to give their perspective. And I imagine there's a bunch of thumbnails talking about it today. And it's frustrating to me because this is a case where this show, I think, is looking phenomenal. We're going to talk about it tonight. I thought this newest trailer looked just stellar. And a quote like this is going to go a long way to already setting people's kind of opinions and starting the drama cycle early. And that to me is really just, it's exhausting. And it would be frustrating if I spent a lot of time on this show and already people were starting to kind of get this kind of reaction going. It's going to maybe slant people's view before they've even seen an episode. So that's kind of my initial just gut emotional reaction to the quote. And I'll maybe go into more detail about some of the specifics. But Jimmy, what did you think when you saw the quote? What was your read on the situation?
I read the headline of the article, and I literally sat up in bed and just said, "Oh no," because I knew exactly what was going to happen. And initially, as I read it, I kind of think I've given myself what woke means, because I get into these arguments all the time. X, Y, and Z happens. Oh, Disney's gone woke wars, da, da, da. And I ask, what does that mean? I want them to explain it to me, because I can never figure it out. Most of the time, it's just not what they say it is. But if this was a case where everyone in the show, like the writer said, this is exactly what happened when Trump was president, I could say that's woke, because you are directly relating it to something that happened and openly saying that. Now you can take that back to the original Star Wars and how it was based on, the Viet Cong and all that. So it's very hard to, distinguish these things.
I'll tell you my definition, Jimmy. This is when I talked about this in old videos. Like, to me, if someone said, what are you, woke, what should that mean, or what does it mean, right? It's become a meme word at this point. I don't even like saying the word at this point. It's become so crazy. But to me, it feels like if you pull in a political situation, you pull in a trending topic that feels completely foreign or unnatural or illogical in the world, right? If you're having something that doesn't make any sense, like, okay, well, why right now is is animal rights being discussed in Andor? Like, that doesn't really fit with where we are in the Star Wars universe. That's where you've kind of put your beliefs above the actual quality of the show. That's kind of how I think the word should mean. But it's kind of, to exactly what you're saying, Jimmy, it's kind of just become like a catch-all for, I don't like it, it's a good
word. Having Moses Ingram and Obi-Wan, that's not woke. Having Amandla, is that how you say it?
Amandla, yeah.
As in The Acolyte, it's not woke. That's just casting.
Yeah, agreed.
Relax.
But go ahead, not to sidetrack.
Yeah, right. Now this, at first I was like, this could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Let me read into this a little more, because I knew instantly no one was going to read anything else. They were going to read the headline and make so much money off of hate clicks. And yeah, as you read it, Fiona Shaw, mainly known for playing Aunt Petunia in the Harry Potter series.
Yep. Good call.
Right? She makes the quote, saying that Tony has written a great scurrilous take on a Trumpian world. And, our world is exploding in different places right now. People's rights are disappearing, and that's true. There's a lot of debacle right now between people's rights that can match Star Wars, because the Empire likes to strip you of everything. But it is just her opinion on what has been written. Do we like the quote? No, because it's going to cause problems. I think she's entitled to have that. That's perfectly fine. Like for her saying it, I'm like, okay, that's great. But it's not the writer saying it.
Right.
It's her interpretation. We need to take that into consideration and not just blow off the show thinking, oh, it's left-wing snowflake propaganda, whatever key phrase you want to throw out there,
If I'm the Disney PR team, I hate it. Right? If I'm like the PR team, I'm like,
and that's the thing. So they said that, and Empire went,
gold.
But here's the thing, because after those, it just goes on continuing talking about the show. So they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think Fiona could get away with this because, as Josh and I discussed before we started recording, she's only credited with being in one episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll see her other than in the one episode. And she'll probably have more than one. We don't know anything as of yet. Yeah. But if that's true, she was just in one episode. Yeah, she's free to say whatever she wants and bounce.
Yeah. And
as a result, Empire was like,
Yeah.
well, we're meeting our quota early today.
You did
This
good.
is why I wanted to make this video, because this is going to create, hateful videos, scare tactics, a lot of issues. People aren't going to think before diving into this. That's why I really wanted to sit down and try to, hunker down and explain what this is.
I think what you did a good job of calling out there, Jimmy, is like when you read the article, there's literally zero new info. It's completely like Andor is going to be a lot like Rogue One, and it's going to be gritty and military. And here's this 2 lines from this character comparing it to a very much however you feel. It's very much a trigger word, right? They definitely went for, and I think where it can be especially frustrating for some folks, like currently in the world, and we're not, this channel is not going to give you guys political commentary. That's not what we're here to do. It's not I am not any smarter than you guys. I'm dumb as a rock. You don't have to hear anything I have to say. Number 2, YouTube hates it, so this video is probably going to get demonetized or triggered. So we don't like to make these types of videos regardless, telling you how to think. But there are real things going on in the world, like in Ukraine, right, where there's real violence, real war happening. I mean, there's war, right? Skirmishes, whatever you want to call it. And so you have those kind of things happening, which can probably relate even almost better to Andor, right, where there's a real military presence and invading that you can compare it to. But you got to be careful here when we talk about a fantasy sci-fi world and comparing it to today's struggles. Because George absolutely has said many times that the original trilogy is heavily inspired by the U.S. war in Vietnam, and he was reflecting what he thought was this kind of, the force of small force of rebels fighting against this imperialistic nation, being the U.S., which is actually almost way more offensive than anything I've heard Disney Star Wars say. Just being honest, like that to me is way more. If you served in Vietnam and you read that, I can see you'd be very like a little offended, right? Like you're the bad guy, right? That was way more controversial, but the time was different. Those kind of things didn't trend. There wasn't this kind of clickbaity culture, this kind of articles where look, clicks get the money on published media and on YouTube, and so these kind of things are just easy. It's easy and it's out there
And I mean, it's just very different times when you look at it. Go to Disney Plus, watch like the first 20-30 minutes of the documentary Empire of Dreams, and it explains what was happening in America right before Star Wars came out. And that probably helps sum that up. I think the problem is the stuff that happens in Star Wars based off of what the original trilogy has created brings us all of this war and this fascist empire, but it's so easily relatable because it's like nothing overly extreme. This is stuff that happens every day, so it's really hard to not find a comparison.
But it's fair, yeah.
And they've already come out saying, this is going to be a political spy thriller.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the show has to be because of what goes on to build a rebellion. It has to be all political based because it's starting a war with a governing body. So you can't avoid that.
And what's always the humorous part? Oh, sorry, Jimmy. What's always humorous part?
I was just gonna say, yeah. Go. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What's always humorous to me is like you'll find that everyone, like you said earlier, will find, when they watch a show like this, they view the Empire as their enemy. So folks on the right will view the Empire as A, B, and C from the left, and then vice versa, and flip it. So it is always funny to me how we kind of interpret the bad guy in the movie always as our bad guy, right? That's just kind of how it works.
And it's so easy to do that too when you have a property like Star Wars where good and evil is so easily defined.
Yeah.
Alec Guinness said the same thing. And I think, going back to this quote, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe it could be true to some people. Some people may see that quote, see Andor, and be like, ah, yes, I see the comparisons. But I think you're also supposed to at some point. You're supposed to find some real world comparisons that help you enjoy it. Now, there are those that just want, space fantasy that has nothing to do with real world. It's a form of escape.
Yeah.
But at least like for me personally, if I can see something in that show and like tie it back to my life personally in real world stuff, I feel a deeper connection with that.
Sure.
It's all subjective, and it is a pain, and it is a big pain for the Disney PR team.
I think, there are people who watched the original Star Wars trilogy and saw the rebellion as the U.S. and the Empire as Britain. Saw Revolutionary War comparison,
maybe,
right?
or because like when I was growing up, I saw a lot of World War II comparisons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That I've
Which
always
which
thought World War II.
still openly makes sense. I mean, hell, stormtroopers.
Yeah.
That's the SS.
the color scheme of the Empire is 100%. I mean, it's the way. Even in the Disney sequel era, where we have the First Order in front of the red flag with the white,
100% Nazis.
So it's 100%.
I can show you side to side comparisons of that.
So it's no doubt inspired. I think there's to your point, and I keep reiterating this because it's really the main point of our video is like, this is not the director coming out saying I wrote a Star Wars show based on Trump. It's a person who took part in the show saying I see reflections of what I see in the world in this show. And so before we jump on the train, the show is, woke propaganda crap. I think we need to understand who said this, how it was being presented to us in a very much clickbaity way, and wait for the show to come out in a little over a month now. Unfortunately, it was delayed, but we're still excited, and wait and see. Because what always really frustrates me is when these sorts of narratives start long before the show is released, it immediately kind of starts that cycle, and people start to watch the show with the lens of, I've been told this show is very left-leaning. I've been told this show is very critical of things I like, or whatever, in my viewpoint. And now I'm going to watch the show eagle-eyed, and anytime I think a reference is being made that could be critical of me, I'm going to call it woke. I'm going to nitpick it. And I've seen this happen time and time again, where a narrative starts about the show. Look, before Kenobi ever came out, there was a narrative around Reva, right? And when Reva put that when the Instagram post got made about, hey, we need to support, this actress and this and that, people use that as like, they're trying to block criticism of the show. They're saying, you guys are being mean to the actress. That's a way to deflect of real criticism of the show. When the truth is that narrative had been started weeks before. It'd been talked about, it's going to be bait and switch. I saw those bait and switch, it's Reva's going to be the main villain, she's going to be the main character, before there was ever an episode aired. And so that narrative existed. The show came out, and people kept looking to make that narrative a reality. And I just don't want that to happen here, where people have already decided, it's a left-leaning woke show. I know it, and I'm going to find that in every episode. I think that's what frustrates me.
Yeah, and like the best example that I can think of, and I still think of this like every other day, after all of these shows were announced at the investors meeting in 2020, I saw The Acolyte, I was like, I'm excited for that. A little bit later, some more information came out on these shows, one of which was saying that The Acolyte was going to be a very female cast-centric show, female writer, female director.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what was said. I remember that because everyone was thinking, it's completely woke because it's all women. I'm like, what's the problem with that? But because people latched onto that, there's going to be this huge grudge that everyone's going to be holding once that show comes out, because they're going to go into the show thinking, well, they're all going to be, it's the same thing with the High Republic. You had Avar Kriss on the cover and everyone lost their minds.
Yeah. I think I've said this before in my videos for folks who've been on the channel for a while. And it's how I feel. You're allowed to disagree with me 100%. We try to be very respectful on this channel to folks. I've heard people say, hey, I don't like when you take an existing character and you change their gender or you change their race. That bothers me. I don't like that. Let's give those folks their own characters, their own new characters. And so a company does that. They say, okay, you're right. We have this new Jedi. Her name's Avar Kriss. She's a female. Important member of the galaxy, and you're like, oh, look at that, it's woke, it's female. It's like, well, guys, wait a second here. Like, they're introducing you a new character
for this.
They're introducing a new character, and I feel the same way about The Acolyte, right? And by the way, I think and I haven't seen the show, so I'm just guessing, but the idea of these like Sith assassins really fits that femme fatale kind of female scheming can get inside and use her looks and her cunning. Like, it makes so much sense to
Night
me.
Sisters.
Exactly. It makes so much sense to
Right
me.
there.
It totally vibes with what I think the show is going to be, which is these kind of Sith in the shadows and how they're operating. I think it's going to be fantastic. But that's where we are today. Everything can get a click. And one thing Jimmy and I really like to do on this channel, or try to do, is just to say, hey, let's criticize Disney or Star Wars when it's bad. Let's not start the narratives early and try to make them a reality. Like, I have a whole 20-minute video on the channel where I talk about what I think the Book of Boba Fett could have done better. I have no problem criticizing something that's not good or something that's weak. And you can find many episodes of our stream or reviews where I talk about negatives from Kenobi, or negatives from a Bad Batch, or whatever the case may be. But what I don't like is when we start to create narratives based on an actress who's in the show making one line, kind of her perspective. It just feels like it starts to blow up and take a life of its own that isn't true. And I think this show, and we're going to talk about this a lot tonight, so come on by, but I think that the show looks absolutely phenomenal. I think it might be the best Disney Plus show we've had so far, if the trailers are any indication. It just looks absolutely stunning. And I hope people are going to come into it with an open mind, not a preconceived notion that there's some hidden political agenda.
And, I really wanted to make this video, and Josh was on board, and this is not going to be the last. I'm sure there's going to be more discourse like this in years to come. But the point of making this is I want the people that watch this to just know, yes, we saw it, but yes, we took the initiative to fully read what it was giving and then understand this was made for the purpose of causing a scare because of someone's opinion that happens to be in the show.
Yep.
That is not a direct representation of what Andor is going to be, nor what Disney or Tony Gilroy are feeling about this show.
Yeah.
So we don't need to run around screaming, freaking out over it. It's just an opinion piece that Empire took and said, funny enough that they're called Empire.
That's true.
And he said, we can meet our quota with this real fast. We're going to get so many clicks, bonus checks.
Yeah. I think Jimmy and I, like, one thing that we talk about a lot, and one thing that, I try to do a lot earlier on in this channel is, the kind of culture that surrounds fandom these days is very, reactionary, very much drama gets clicks. We know it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows the game. And sometimes it's good. I know when I'm online, I like to just, I look for sources who take that more level-headed, even-keel approach, because that's more like the people in my life. That's more like my friends, the people I interact with. We talk about these things. We don't just go crazy. And so we hope we give an outlet for Star Wars fans where they can do the same. So let us know down below. I will say, on all these videos that have controversial topics, even though Jimmy and I try to be as open to conversation as possible, if things get nasty or ugly, we are more sensitive on the block or mute button in these types of videos. I apologize if that bothers you. It's how you have to be on YouTube. YouTube is very much, they want you to be locked down, keep your channel clean. And so apologies if you feel like we've blocked you or blocked your comment, aggressively. We're just overcautious on these videos. So apologies in advance, but let us know down below. We'd love to hear it. Come stop by later tonight, talk about it. If you've made it this long to the video, if you've made it through all 25 minutes at this point, tell us, what's the secret, Jimmy? What's the secret today? Banana bread. That's the secret. Let us know how much you like banana bread, and we'll know you made it all the way through. We appreciate you guys being here. Looking forward to Andor. I'm bummed it's delayed. I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight, but I think it was delayed for good reason. So stop on by. Let us know your thoughts. We appreciate all your support. We'll see you all again very soon.